All right. So you are here for 209 Parish.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'm going to affirm you in, if you will.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So if you could raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Let's say the assessor been sworn in as well.
He was this morning,
Okay,
yes.
sure.
All right, and so state your name for the record?
Michael R. Franklin.
Okay. You affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, very good. Yeah, Joe was sworn in at the beginning of the session.
Hey, one quick question on that, if I could.
Yes.
Has anybody ever been prosecuted for perjury in this bar hearing in all the years you've been doing this?
Not to my knowledge, and you guys know.
Is there a section of the law that this pertains to, what the penalties are and so on and so forth?
I would think so.
What section is that? Is it a penal law 210? Just like to know what it is I'm getting myself involved in.
Okay, no problem. Let me just read the property in. So we've got 209 Parish Lane. And what type of property is it? It's a one-family residence?
Yes.
All right. So let me just read some numbers in, and then I'll turn it over to you. Okay. All right, so we have a current tentative assessment of $99,000 with a land value of $16,900. That would equate to a market value of $158,400. And then the petitioner believes the fair market value is $128,000, which would equate to an assessed value of $80,000. And let me just take a peek at the petition here. Nothing as far as purchase price. And then what looks like we got a DocuSign authorization for Mr. Franklin to submit or present. And then not sure what this is, but I think it has to do with DocuSign. Just a DocuSign. Okay.
So you're okay with DocuSign instead of people having to come down here?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't have any problem with it. Defer to the city, but DocuSign's fine, yeah, no problem. Okay, so I got the application, and I'll turn it over to you.
I just, I wanted to submit this to you. Just preliminary before I get started with this. That was a submission that Joe provided to this board at my last hearing. And as you can see, he testified that he obtained that information from public information. And that is not public information. That is an MLS report that was generated through Rob Foole's personal account through his side business.
Okay.
And the city of Syracuse should not be, if the city of Syracuse qualified to get an MLS account, they would have an MLS account. But they are improperly, Joe, you know that this is a MLS rules violation.
Is that a comp for 209 Parish Lane?
Well, that's a.
Are you the
That's all
chair?
right.
I'm asking a question. I can ask, is that a comp for 209?
Well, what I want to
Parish
know
Lane?
is, did he do the same thing here? Because he should not be using the MLS. Joe, do you understand what I'm saying?
Understand what you're saying, and so this will submit to the whatever file that was the other day, but I don't think that Joe has anything pertaining to the MLS.
Well, he said he got this from public information. He perjured himself.
All right,
Okay, just,
it's on the record.
yep, and from him moving here, the city needs a cease and desist using the MLS. It's not an assessor tool. You're illegally using the MLS, and you should not be using Zillow or Realtor.com. It is not public information. You need to read the user policy. It is highly inappropriate And I'm telling you, that one lawsuit that's going on where they sued the National Association of Realtors, I think they would be interested in this too. This is highly inappropriate.
All right,
Okay, we can move on.
okay.
Okay, so this particular case is, it's an unequal case, and it's a welcome stranger case. It sold for 158, they pinned 158. I believe Ed Full handled it. I'm not certain why Joe is here. And as some of you may know, Ed Full threatened to beat me up in the hallway after the SCAR hearing last year. That SCAR hearing was for the property that's across the street from this. I won, hands down, exactly what it is that I asked for. This is exactly the same argument. They pinned the purchase price. I looked at all the sales on the, on that block. Of the 10 properties that surround this property that were, I'm comparing it to the properties that did not sell. This is the highest assessed property of all the properties that did not sell.
Let me just ask you, the purchase price was 158,
It is.
and then when was that purchased?
It was in 2022, let me see. $2021, 156.
2021, it was 156.
So they
just 'cause
raised it to
wasn't on here.
158. Now, what would be acceptable to me is if they can document a neighborhood increase, but that is it, period. Otherwise, it's selective assessment, it's welcome stranger, it's illegal. Now, the case that we had, so the assessment was 80, they raised it to 99. So my argument last year is I'm okay with a uniform neighborhood increase, but you cannot pin the purchase price. It's illegal. So, and he's been doing it routinely. And as I tried to show you last time, nobody seemed to have an interest. But his comparable sales report, 4 out of his 5 comps, he pinned the purchase price on. So, for example, last year's case, this property was one of the comparables because he pinned the price on all of these, and that's what he used for comparables. It's, and I don't see Tom doing it. I did a sample of Tom. Tom's not doing it. He doesn't do it much. But Ed Full routinely, selectively assesses property and pins the purchase price. Routinely. And it needs to stop.
All right, so point taken under oath. The first question for Joe, was this a neighborhood review?
Yeah.
This was, so this was a neighborhood where you looked at all the properties, didn't necessarily increase, decrease, or whatever.
This is Ed's area, I'm just handling.
Oh, this is
on
Ed's
my
area,
day.
you're handling, he's not here.
Right.
But everybody's been doing neighborhood reviews,
yeah.
if you will.
To my knowledge, yeah.
All
that's
right,
what-
so, all right.
So did you have a percentage neighborhood increase?
We look at every property individually.
Yeah. Well, what I observed from last year's analysis, there was a article in the Syracuse newspaper where they did a graph and it had red dots. And so I analyzed all the red dots. Those are the ones that had increases. Just one block up, there was no increases at all for like, I don't know, 10 blocks, nothing. And then on this street, there was some that were 5, there were some that were 10, some that were 20. Of course, the higher ones were the ones where they pinned the purchase price. And so what I tried to be reasonable in the SCAR hearing was I told him that he violated welcome stranger. The hearing officer agreed he violated welcome stranger. And I said, I'm okay with a increase. And I forget what the figure was, but it was like 7.5%. And the hearing officer thought that was reasonable. Ed made no argument counter to it, so that's what he gave me. So I'm okay with 7.5% or something to that effect. But you can't pin the purchase price.
Okay, so what was the percentage increase proposed on this property that we're talking about?
I didn't get into that. I didn't put it in my petition because I was going to wait for them to see if they had their own. If they had their own, then that's fine. If they did a neighborhood increase, that's fine. It's uniform. And so some reasonable percentage.
Okay, because it looks like, what's the, okay,
And Well, like I said, the last year's property is right across the street. And so that one was 80 as well. And so it ended up going to 85, like 762. I can look it up for you. And I would say that that would be fair. And that's what the hearing officer concluded. Let me see.
That was, the SCAR hearing on the property across the street was ultimately a 7.5% increase.
Yes, approximately.
All right.
It went from 80 to 85 and change. Let me see if I've got it on here.
All right. So what can you tell us about,
And I want to tell you, I have not been in the house, and I
Okay.
will not go into any of the houses, and neither is he, and he can't. So, let's compare apples and apples. I do not go into people's houses. It's not appropriate.
okay, so.
We disagree, but that's just how I do it.
So, and that's fine. We definitely disagree, because I don't know how you can come up with and we'll agree to disagree, but I don't know how you can come up with so basically, when you're only working off of numbers then percentage-wise, basically.
Well, in other words, that discussion to me was irrelevant because of the argument that I was making. So it just wasn't relevant.
All right, but see, the problem that arises is that how do you feel that you're qualified to represent a homeowner, right, when you don't know what's on the inside of the
Well,
house?
I was qualified to establish that he was illegally using the purchase price and that the sale was not arm's length. So it was a double. Number one, you can't just use the purchase price.
And
You know,
that's
you-
that's your contention.
Well, here, I'll read it for you. Opinion of council number 10.
Well, I understand. No, I don't dispute the SCAR hearing. That was the
They
decision.
can pin the
but-
purchase price, but they need to demonstrate how they bring the others in line, which they didn't do.
Right.
So that's the end of the conversation.
All right.
There's nothing more to talk about.
On last year, but on this property
No,
here
no,
now.
well, I'm talking about, Maryland that you were just talking about.
Right.
But yeah, there's nothing to talk about here either, because it's, you haven't done a reval in 25 years, and your equalization rate is 62.5, so it puts guys like Ed Foll under pressure to bring the equalization rates up, so any place that he can think that he can get away with, upping it here and there, that's what he does. And that's his motivation for doing so. And,
Well, I thought I had read that there was over almost 5,000 properties this year that were addressed as far as assessment is concerned.
I'd have to go look at the exact
yeah,
number.
but that creates unequal circumstances all over the city. And, you just got to bite the bullet and do your reval, It's just,
Well, I think
when
there's
you get
discussion
paid
of
to do a
that.
job, you've collected all this money from the taxpayers. When you get paid to do a job and you don't do it, it's called fraud. They put contractors in jail for taking money and not doing the job.
Well, I think that they try to do it on a yearly basis, but I believe that a reval is coming.
What happens is, I've done this in 32 counties, so I've seen quite a stuff going around. And politicians avoid revals like the plague because it's the quickest way to get voted out of office. And so that's why there hasn't been a reval done. And they talked a little bit, yeah, we're going to do it in the near future. Yeah, after I'm out of office, that's when he'll do it. Not. And so that's what this is all about. But one thing I want to say is that I don't want to be contentious. I watched the video afterwards, and there were some things said about whatever some German guy said. All I ask out of the bar and out of the assessor's office is good faith. That's all I ask. And then I ask for transparency and accountability. And Ed Foll last year suggested I sue the city. Last thing I have time to do. So I sued the city, and we got the results on Friday. And now they have to give me my cost report. And make me jump through hoops to sue these guys. And I prevailed. Just like I prevailed last year at SCAR, because I don't do things when I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That you have that right, and that's the great
So
part of the process.
just one other thing.
Okay.
about using assessor data, or I'm sorry, using Realtor data for valuation. You know, this is the house that we're talking about here. Let me read you what the Realtor has to say. Truly a special gem, one-of-a-kind home, spacious bedrooms, most desirable low-traffic streets in the valley, a private oasis, cozy kitchens, prime convenient location to school, unique charming home waiting for your love to call it a home. Just colorful metaphors, and that's what we had at 949 Maryland as well. You can't, these are marketing materials. You don't use them for valuation materials. It's not an assessor
again,
tool.
the assessor is getting the numbers. If that is in fact the case, they're not paying attention to the write-up. You
He
know
most
that.
certainly did.
Yeah.
He most certainly did.
They're just looking for purchase prices,
well.
you know.
Well, he shouldn't be using
well,
Zillow,
that's-
shouldn't be using Realtor.com.
that could be.
Shouldn't be using specifically the MLS, because that's an MLS rules violation.
That
You know, Ed could lose his membership for doing what he did.
That could be, and that is not for us to decide. But again, it's trying to access information as far as factual, what things sold for, but it's okay.
And the city condoning the use of the MLS, condoning it. And now you know that they're doing it. You've been put on notice that they're doing it. Don't do it anymore.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to add as far as this particular property here?
Yeah, so it's unequal. I looked at the street, the properties that didn't sell and comparable to them, this is the very highest assessed property.
This is good for us to keep.
Sure. The properties that did sell, there was some higher ones, but they also used a sale that was a non-arm's length sale and pinned that purchase price too. It's just three of them on the street alone.
Let's take a look and see what Joe's got to submit. All right, so we got, of course, the subject property. Then we have 202 Parish Lane. We have 139 Spalding Ave. We have 195 Fisco Ave, 116 Edna Road, and 168 Oakley Drive. Now, we can give a copy of this, is that correct?
Yeah, I'd like a copy of that. Fisco, they pinned the purchase price on that one. Can you read the rest of those again?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a copy also.
There was two on Fisco, and they pinned the purchase price on those.
Okay, I've only got one on here, 195, but we'll get a copy of this. That's good. And you know, when you say they pinned the purchase price, what does that mean? What
Means when
other words,
they looked up the
something
sale and they
sold
made that
and-
the assessment, but they didn't adjust their other properties that didn't sell. That's what creates unequal.
Well, 5,000 properties didn't change hands last year. I'm sure that there's no question, I mean, people come in front of us where they've had assessments and they didn't just buy the property. They have grievances. So, you know, they are raising assessments of properties that haven't sold.
Yeah, well, like I said, the 10 that surround it are, you know, this is the highest assessed amongst all of them. And
And that
contrary
could be, so we got to take a look at it.
Yeah. And, but you still have to abide by the law.
Absolutely.
He violated, he pinned the purchase price. It's illegal.
Well,
And,
again,
and the problem is it's kind of like FOIL. You know, when the municipality violates FOIL, or when Ed Full violates Welcome Stranger, there's no penalty. You don't go to jail for it. So he just keeps doing it. But the law is the law.
again, I think that's pretty tough to prove.
Well, do you want us to read the decision?
No, but what I'm saying.
The
is
hearing
that-
officer established that he violated Welcome Stranger.
Well,
And these two guys were there. They were right in the hearing with us. They knew Ed Full couldn't handle me one-on-one, so they brought two lawyers. What a waste of taxpayer money.
well, it's standard procedure.
You always have two lawyers in your SCAR hearings? I've never seen that before. I've had a couple of them show up.
Well,
Usually it's
have
when
you
they're
had
trying to
a-
cover
Have
for
you
something.
had a scar with the city other than the one that you just had
No.
last year? Well, That's the way they do it.
Really? Yeah, all right.
But, all right, so.
Geez, I
we're
felt
gonna-
special there for a little bit.
No, it's, it's standard to protect, this is the copy. Yes. Okay.
You know, so like I said, I don't want to be contentious with anybody.
No.
I'm not a terrible guy.
Nor do
But
we.
I don't like being sandbagged. I don't like disingenuous behavior.
Okay.
And
No,
I-
that's fine. We don't want to be contentious either. We want to make sure that you feel that you got a fair hearing, if you will, and,
I'd rather just have a fair hearing. I don't need to feel as though it's fair. I just want a fair one.
Sure, yep. And so we will take the city's comps, what you submitted, and then we'll send, the city will send a notice first week of April.
Well, remember, opinion of council number 10. It's the law. So, you know,
All right, well, thank you very much for coming in today.
okay.